What up, though, people? It is Wake Up Woodward, and what a day it is. It's going to be 83 degrees hot. The city is going to be jumping. There's going to be NFL draft parties going on in the city. It's going to be NFL playoff pregame parties going on. And then we actually got the biggest playoff basketball going on in the city in 17 years tonight. Pistons and Knicks with a chance for the Detroit Pistons to just take a stranglehold on this series. They already went to New York and they took a game. And the Knicks stole one in New York. I forgot who dropped that in chat, but they stole one in New York. And the Pistons, they knew that they let one get away. And what better way than to clean it up instantly? Yep. This team has bounced back all year, Flannel, and now they have a great chance to go up 2-1 against the Knicks. And we want to talk about those keys to victory. How does this team go up and take that 2-1 lead and allow us to come in here tomorrow probably on the highest high we've been about Pistons since 2004. And one of those keys to victory, I know we could just kind of throw them out. It's always going to be don't shoot yourself in the foot. You don't want to cost yourself. We know that when the Pistons turnovers are up, they're giving too many more opportunities and points off turnovers to the other squad. We already understand what they do in the paint and all that. But in the playoffs in particular, when you're playing a team, the same team over and over and over again, the most important aspect is be ready for the chess match. Be ready for what they do to try and take away what you've been doing so well, both defensively and offensively. Be ready for the flurry and be ready for those stars. So it's effectively an all-in-one. It's be ready for that Knicks flurry because you already know Jalen Brunson's going to try and push the tempo to try and get foul shots. And this team, especially to start the game, Flannel is going to have to make sure that they are able to take all of the punches, remain within their character. And like JB Bickerstaff says, we're not the ones that are going to be pushed out of our identity. But the Knicks are a good team, and as long as they can weather whatever strategic changes they try to make, you already heard OG Anunoby crying about Cade Cunningham and the legal things. They're crying about the Pistons defense, y'all. The legal things that they're doing to get me off of his body. Man, my man's in a nightmare right now trying to defend Cade Cunningham, and that's where I just want this team to go out there and look the way they have all season. They haven't looked like a young team. They've looked like a squad that's belonged. And I want them to go out there tonight and have that same type of feeling, especially against the New York Knicks.
Oh, man, opportunity to go up 2-1 at home. I think my two keys to victory are, one, you've got to shoot the three ball better. And I think that they will. I think that that's as close to a sure thing as you can possibly have. I don't think Malik Beasley is going to go 1 of 8 again. I don't think Tim Hardaway is going to go 0 for again. I think because they got good looks, they just weren't knocking them down. And we all know how Cade is able to find three-point shooters. They are able to get the good looks within the flow of the offense through screens, yada, yada, yada. I think they're going to shoot the three ball better. And also, I think this is a two-parter. But make sure Karl-Anthony Towns doesn't go off.
That's a good one.
Because this is why I think it's a two-parter. Because, one, the defense on Karl-Anthony Towns was great. Whether it was Tobias, whether it was Asar, whether it was Jalen Duren, help side, great. But another way in which I think the Karl-Anthony Towns was neutralized, I think it was a little bit self-inflicted as well. And I think that's where in Game 2, J.B. Bickerstaff coached circles around Tom Thibodeau and may have a role in getting the man fired, which I hope he is, because I think that'll happen if the Knicks lose. Because at the end of the day, in the fourth quarter, defense on Cat was great, but they also weren't even getting him involved. Karl-Anthony Towns is somebody that you have to feed. He's not going to create his own offense. And it was just a lot of Jalen Brunson hero ball. And don't get me wrong, Jalen Brunson, credit to him, he led a comeback, which obviously wasn't completed because of Dennis Schroeder's heroics at the end. But I think it comes down to the Pistons shooting the three ball better and neutralizing Karl-Anthony Towns.
You know, I like that strategy, especially because it's if they would have just shot the three ball better, you're talking about winning that second game going away with a whole lot less stress. But what made that win possible is the fact that you're right. They neutralized Karl-Anthony Towns, who we know can do a plethora of things. It wasn't just how they minimized what he was doing scoring, but they minimized his effect in the paint. Yeah. He wasn't rebounding the way he normally does, and he wasn't getting the assists like we know he can run up. And so as long as you're keeping Karl-Anthony Towns off balance, you're keeping him off kilter, and you're making sure that he's uncomfortable, continue to push him further and further and further away from the three-point line, because what's happening with Karl-Anthony Towns is some of the sets that they try to run, when he catches the ball, if you look during the regular season, you play lazy defense, he catches and shoots. because he's within his hot zone. They're pushing them back like another half a foot to a foot. And we've seen it a couple times where they've shot from that point to try and still get the play going, and they've fallen just short, hitting the front end of the rim. And you could tell they're just outside of their mark, because at that level, players shoot based off of the motion. They've already put in all the work. They've already put in the shooting motion. It's almost at that point in time mechanical. You could turn off the lights in the gym. You put them in their hot zone, they're going to make that shot more times than not. And so with the Pistons playing more aggressive, being in their jerseys, not allowing them to be comfortable, those are the types of things that overall you want to see this team continue to employ, because I believe man to man, that second game, the Pistons just brought a completely different energy that seemed to be missing when they lost, especially when they started losing that lead in the fourth quarter of game one.
Yeah, I love it. It was a defensive masterclass, but also just one thing that I heard, which actually kind of made things make more sense, is that Karl Anthony Towns, and this isn't me. I got this from X. I wish I could attribute it to somebody. It's almost as if they go through spurts like they did in a game 2 where they don't really know what he is. Karl Anthony Towns is a guy who should, in theory, help your offensive ceiling and your offensive floor, but they just didn't get him involved as much. But like I said, the Pistons had a ton to do with it. Karl Anthony Towns was in hell. But it's weird how...
Shout out Uncle Tobias.
Absolutely. It's weird, though, how Tom Thibodeau, he's actually coached Karl Anthony Towns at 2 different stops. But I sometimes feel like Thibs doesn't even like him that much.
Tell me that Tibbs already doesn't, like, we talk about how our players are making the Knicks players uncomfortable. Tell me JB Bickerstaff doesn't have Coach Tibbs looking uncomfortable.
Absolutely.
He was crashing out.
He's at the podium asking for fucking foul calls.
Yeah,
you are definitely in their head.
And you heard there's certain comments and such, Jalen Brunson and some of the stuff coming from the reporters. Remember what we talked about before game 2. You win game 2, you turn up the pressure on them. It's not just the headlines. The people writing the headlines are in the media room asking them these questions. And some of the questions coming up, like, bro, you're going out there as OG Anunoby playing your darndest. And they're just like, yeah, we know that there were things they did to get him off your body, but he was also, to paraphrase, effectively cooking you in the one-on-ones too.
You're right.
No, they was doing screens and stuff. Like, they're hearing
Yeah, he
this.
tried to say they was doing moving screens.
But but then the plays that we were able to show, Cat does this so much to try and spring Jalen Brunson free. So, hey, moot point is a moot point in that. But my thing is, when you win, especially in a series like this, it's not just that the bright lights are on, that Cade Cunningham and the Pistons star and what they've been doing can get that notice. It's that every game you win, those questions start to pile up that they're going to have to answer face to face. And some of those things did center around where it was effectively Cat in the fourth quarter. And Jalen Brown, I ain't calling nobody out. I just got to be better. You know, there's things I can do. When the star player who you know went out there, Jalen Brunson, he did what he was supposed to do, has to answer the question that way. And now he has to take bullets because Cat disappeared. These are the things that start to mount that pressure. And that's why I said, as long as the Pistons can really kind of take the punches, because you know they're going to come out throwing these tonight. They're not coming out even this. The Knicks are coming out trying to throw haymakers to start the game, to deaden the crowd already. As long as they can mess with that, the Pistons have shown. Cat does nothing to them in these fourth quarters, bro. Like in the regular season and in the playoffs, they got some type of like
neutered the Cat.
They got
that's a bar.
They got some type of recipe, and you're right. JB Bickerstaff, as if they continue this on, you talk about JB Bickerstaff definitely. We came into this thing saying he is the best coach in the series, but he's going to have to prove that he's the best coach in the series for the Pistons to win.
For the record, I was a little on the fence about that, but
you are more than me.
This series will, I think, tell the story of that. But KG, is the Cat going to get neutered?
Yeah, he's going to He's absolutely going to get neutered, and I continue to say this. If he comes out early, that's all well and good. But it's all about what you do in that second half against Karl Anthony Towns. And big shout out to B-Ball Paul and Jalen Duren in this last game, and Tobias Harris, of course. But, you know, them playing the type of defense that they played on Cat, and him not even wanting to take a shot attempt in the fourth quarter, that's a little telling. That's a little telling. And the biggest difference between game 1 and game 2 to me, besides a fluke Cameron Payne fourth quarter was the turnover differential. The Pistons were able to cut their turnovers down from 22 in game 1 to 16 in game 2. And I think that is key. If you're holding onto the ball and you're playing the physical type of defense that we know the Pistons can play, they're going to be okay. You want to put all that pressure on Jalen Brunson to go out there, play hero ball, be Superman, try and foul bait, And one thing I think the Knicks are quickly learning is that y'all not going to win this foul baiting game. The refs are calling this thing straight up, maybe even more so towards the Pistons because they know that the Knicks are actually seeking those type of calls. And the Pistons, we're used to not getting calls. This is a perfect situation for Cade, and I would dare say the refs are starting to adjust to Cade's game a lot. I think next year we'll see a lot more foul calls in that regard, but just keep that recipe going. Be dominant in the paint. Hopefully we can get the 3-ball falling, with Tim Hardaway Jr. and Malik Beasley, but I think you can survive as long as you keep playing the defense that you're playing. You're getting the amount of play that you're getting from Tobias Harris, and you take Cat out of the game in the second half.
And when we talk about pounding the paint, which we know the Detroit Pistons are one of the best teams in the league at doing that, and they showed that in the second game even better with Cade Cunningham right from the get-go attacking the paint. What you do is you force the Knicks to have to play this weird game. Mitchell Robinson not giving you much on offense. We know that he can give you some putbacks and things of that nature, maybe a pick-and-roll basket a game, but he's not giving you much on offense. But you need him and the physicality he brings if Cade Cunningham is just dancing his way in and getting whatever layup he wants.
Exactly.
Remember the reverse layup
that
he had that he almost dunked?
Yeah.
It was just like, y'all don't matter. And then when Duren just turned, Duren was trying to do the dribble handoff. Turned, because you're always supposed to look. And then he always looks and then turns back and passes it. He saw Cat and just was like to the rack.
Right.
Mitchell Robinson, they got that man into that game quick, and his minutes went up from 18 the first game to 20 in the second game. The problem is he's not. You're gonna have to make this decision. Do you slow them down on defense and give up some offense, bringing in Mitchell Robinson? And that's what being aggressive for the Pistons early on and weathering those punches before Mitchell Robinson comes in. That's what that means. Yeah. You play them toe for toe because they're gonna come out with a lot of energy, in my opinion, to start that game. I believe that actually is one of the best case scenarios for the Pistons. If you're playing them toe for toe, because if Jalen Brunson is pushing the issue, if he takes the recipe from game 1, he's going to get his free throws early in this game. And you want to see the Detroit Pistons be able to weather that storm and give this crowd an opportunity to be able to take over, because the Knicks, I'm sorry, man, their bench is going to be shoddy and spotty all series long. And now these guys like Campaign, Mitchell Robinson, they're going to have to find a way to break through and still contribute. I don't think that just OG Anunoby and Josh Hart are enough. I do believe that the Knicks, when you're talking about coming into the series, we thought they were the more talented team, but we thought that the Pistons' depth would pose a big issue to the New York Knicks. And we see this team getting tired, especially when it matters most.
Yeah, because you don't utilize your fucking bench throughout the season. What do you think's gonna happen? That's why I said that Campaign run was a fluke, bro. Like they didn't in game 2. Where was he? Where was the bench in game 2?
On a milk cart. Yeah, 35-8. The Pistons bench outscored the Knicks bench 35-8.
Say less.
And that's the thing. The Knicks, they're shortening their rotations too. I don't think you've seen any of Precious Achua, for example.
Right. How do you shorten?
How can you shorten what's already short?
They play it 6 deep, bro. Like, what are we talking about, man?
I know, and I mean, you're seeing some Landry Shamet minutes too. That's
right.
I didn't know he was still in the NBA, quite frankly. But shout out. He's getting minutes over Precious Achua. Hey, if you're getting any minutes for the Knicks in the playoffs, you're doing something right.
It's interesting to see them having to really grasp right now when they have, what some people thought coming to the series, 2 of the top 3 players in the series.
Yeah.
And yeah, we would say that.
Yeah.
But it's interesting to see them now in a position to where by game 3, and really in the middle of game 2, having to grasp for certain straws. And you're sitting here asking questions. Like we talked about this yesterday. The Knicks have a lot of questions to answer if they start losing games. People, especially if they lose the series, everything they invested in this team, it's just like, man, and you lose to a team that's an upstart, that's on the rise, it presents a whole lot more questions. This is what I was saying about the Atlanta Hawks going back last year. And now you see teams like the Atlanta Hawks have been passed up by teams like the Pistons. If the Knicks falter this year, I do believe this is a situation on the big stage with all the bright lights where it's just going to be a double negative for the New York Knicks.
Oh, yeah.
You can't invest this much in Mikal Bridges and Karl-Anthony Towns, because I told the social team to track this graphic, right? What's interesting about this series, what team did we get Jalen Duren from? It was the New York Knicks.
It was New York
We
Knicks,
lost
yeah.
that number one pick because we made the playoffs that we traded to get Jalen Duren, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then what did the New York Knicks do? They used that draft pick to go and get Karl-Anthony Towns. Think about the implications in this draft.
Mm-hmm.
Think about that. No first-round pick, no Jalen Duren, but you got Cat. Cat has to show out. Or what a waste of an investment for a team that had NBA championship aspirations.
When you really think about it, and it's the Knicks are in and I've said this before, an unenviable position, as unenviable of a position as you can be in, because when you really look at what they did, what they had to spend for Mikal Bridges, what they had to give up for Karl-Anthony Towns.
First rounds for Bridges.
It was something ridiculous. It was something
picks
insane.
I'm seeing in the chat.
5 picks, unbelievable. There's no choice then but to be championship or bust, and I will definitely defend the Cat trade because he has been really good for the Knicks, and I don't think they lost that much in Dante DiVincenzo and a Julius Randle, particularly in the playoffs, because playoff Julius Randle, at least in his time with the Knicks, was an absolute
When you compound it, though,
ghost.
is when you got to be successful, because you
Right.
pass on Duren
Yeah.
and you pass on the draft pick as well.
Well, that's where if they don't even make it to the second round like they did the last couple of years, it's beyond a failure. And the best part is that nobody will flame them harder than their own media.
Yes.
And that's why I
Yeah.
stated
Yes.
if the Detroit Pistons handle business in this game, everything turns up.
Yeah.
And then that noise, that locker room's frustration, that's stuff that they're going to have to figure out, while meanwhile, they're still trying to play a chess game that they're losing. They're sitting here backpedaling, trying to figure out, okay,
You gotta do it. You have to do it. What if you don't do it?
Why? How bad could it be?
Blue Cross makes sure everyone has the information they need to stay healthy. So whenever you're ready, we're ready to help.
That was easy.
bro, K been cooking OG since his Toronto days.
No, yeah,
like
it's
y'all are
real.
in for a long
It's
series.
real.
And that's where you have this chance to, if you're as nasty, as gritty, as mean as you know you are, push this team over the rails. JB himself said that is what we're trying to do. We're trying to push teams over the rails, out of character, and that to me I believe is a key. And you mix that in as well with a rocking LCA crowd, K going ham, Beasley shimmying. Yes, you will see the New York Knicks implode. You will see them implode. Look,
No,
they're
I
so
agree with
thin
you.
right now.
I agree
bro.
with you. They failed their mission. They wanted to win both games at home. I think they felt like they probably needed to win both games at home, and that's where some doubt creeps into their head, because you're looking at Karl-Anthony Towns, who's got playoff allegations, which he was working hard to fight in game one, but in game two he was a ghost, especially in the second half. I would say, too, that someone like Mikal Bridges, I think he's been a disappointment overall. Has he been bad? Absolutely not. But for what you had to get for him, he's been a disappointment. The only person on the Knicks who I think can't get rattled, really, is Jalen Brunson. Yeah. But we've seen that in game two, he can get his. And I personally think Jalen Brunson played a lot better than a lot of people in the chat give him credit for.
He's been really good this year.
But across the board, when you look at Josh Hart, who I didn't think was capable of being rattled, but maybe he is. When you look at Josh Hart, when you look at OG, when you look at Mikal Bridges, even though he got his points but wasn't as efficient, when you look at all of those guys, Karl-Anthony Towns especially, didn't play up to their standard.
And you know what I love, too, about the pick and rolls? The Detroit Pistons are one of your best pick and roll teams across several metrics. Pick and roll assists, pick and pops, getting to the scoring off the pick and roll. K Cunningham in the pick and pop game, pick and roll game. I can just pull up like 10 different stats, and the Pistons are like top 5 in all of them. They picked on the New York Knicks, bro.
Yeah.
They were like, "Where's Mikal Bridges?" a couple times. It was crazy. And then one time they were like, "All right, get Mikal Bridges off of Cade." They put him on Tobias, and what did Cade do? Swung the ball very quickly over, and they picked on him. As long as the Pistons continue to do that and find that matchup, because the Knicks are coming in saying, well, we have to gear up to stop Cade. What is that doing? Tobias is going off. They do that type of stuff again tonight because you can't let Cade beat you. I'm telling you, let these role players have the game they did in game one, dog. It's going to be, and they're going to have it. They're going to have the matchups. They're going to have the size advantages in their matchups too, because they're rolling all their coverage towards Cade. And that, to me, is why when they go back to regular defense, when Schroeder's in, that's why I think he's cooking them. He's not a slouch either. And he's taking advantage of the opportunities that, when, okay, Cade's not in, they go back to man-to-man or some soft zone-type defenses. And Schroeder's like, all this space for me, and he's taking advantage of it.
And that's where I wonder if the Knicks, at this point, if they get to where they're, and they shouldn't do this, but they're the Knicks, to where they're underestimating some of the veterans right now. Ooh. Whether they work even harder to just say, we cannot let Cade Cunningham beat us. But that's where I think it'll create a lot of open looks for someone like Malik Beasley, who's going to hit them more. Or even when it comes to a Dennis Schroeder, they might sell out even more to stop him and be like, there is no way, and you know where, that Dennis Schroeder's going to do that again. But that might actually work against them. And that's where the Pistons themselves have to make the proper adjustments. That's the thing about playoff basketball, especially when it comes to two kind of hard-nosed, defensive-minded guys like J.B. Bickerstaff and Tom Thibodeau. It is the ultimate chess match, and I just can't wait to see who comes out on top.
I cannot wait. And I see Ryan's reaction in the chat, $4.99 super chat. He says, why wasn't the pick and roll working under Monty? Wasn't he the best pick and roll head coach? I haven't. That's one of the greatest mismanagements of young talent I have ever seen in my life. Part of me feels like if J.B. Bickerstaff was here just the year before, we see the Pistons challenging for the play-in. Yeah. I'm just being serious. Yeah. I just, when you see what these young players have done, because J.B. has continued to say, he's like, yeah, we like what the vets are doing. But I'm telling you, these young guys that got it, they had it since day one. I knew they had it before I came here. I've been asking about it, and like the smirk he gets, and I'm like, J.B., did you know, because I know you don't want to throw Monty under the bus. JB, did you know there was talent over here? Like, I knew there was something over here. Did you know? Do you know what you're gonna do with Ivy? Well, we know this was before we knew is Ivy coming off the bench or not. Then Ivy starting and then having career highs. So I'm just like, JB has a good chance in this series to change a lot of the narratives that followed him here. Yeah, good coach, good young guy, but can he make the adjustments necessary? And so far, he's doing that, but he's going to have to keep it going.
Yeah, absolutely. We do got 2 calls. We can try it one more time. Xavier D's been holding for a while, and we got Kenneth Matthews. So
you want to take a break real quick and then come back to calls?
Yep, sounds good.
Yeah, some stuff up, definitely.
Yep, y'all hold the line. We're going to get back to y'all.
All right.
What a day for Detroit, man.
We got to hear from Mark White and Caesars.
Wonderful, Mark.
One of the legends, and he got 3 possessions in a row on that.
He
That's
did.
a great call.
That clock a couple
My
times.
man, he was scoring, stealing the ball, scoring. Shout out to Xavier D. And Flannel was just cheesing ear to ear, man.
No, thank you for that, Xavier D. The one thing that I will say, and I like Chicago.
I mean, you're from there, so.
I like the city of Chicago. I do. It's fun to visit. I like
nice
Wrigley
city.
Field. Yeah. But
hate the teams, but nice city.
I like the Cubs. They're in the National
Cubs.
League. Yeah,
we do have to do. We have
Fuck the White
some
Sox,
more
though.
business to take care of, though, gentlemen. We definitely gave our takeaways, breakdowns, the feels, the vibes. How is this game ending? Detroit Pistons, New York Knicks. Big game in this series tonight. They can really put the Knicks on their heels. How you see it going down, Flannel?
Pistons 110, Knicks 105. I think it's going to be close. I think Karl Anthony Towns does more. I do think he comes out hot. And shout out to Tom Herr, by the way. He's been in the chat. He thinks he's Korean Pistons fan. He mentioned how he thinks Karl Anthony Towns is really going to try to get going early, and that's going to be one of the objectives of the Knicks as a team. And I agree with that. But the question is, when the going gets tough, is it just going to be Jalen Brunson kind of doing everything himself? And as good as Jalen Brunson is at creating his own offense, I don't necessarily think that's a winning formula. And in this game in particular, I think it's Cade Cunningham who has another game where he shows out. I think there's going to be more assists. I think the guys like Hardaway Jr. and Beasley are going to knock down more of their open threes. And I think Cade Cunningham will have the dagger and 1. That's my prediction. The dagger and 1 to make it like 110 to 103 or something like that.
I believe it's going to be another game where the Detroit Pistons get out and they're their athleticism, their speed, their youth, their depth, again, takes control of this game, much like we saw in games 1 and games 2 early. But that as this game goes on, the veterans hitting the big shots that we haven't really seen them hit in the fourth quarters of the last 2 games. But when you look at how they beat the Knicks this year, they have hit those shots. I believe we see a return to that tonight, and that the Pistons win comfortably. Not a blowout, but it's one in which okay, they had this thing comfortable. The Knicks will maybe have some type of a little bit of a charge, but you can tell the Pistons are going to close this out. I had the Pistons 114, the New York Knicks 107.
Ooh, that's a good score.
Okay.
That's a pretty similar to mine. I like it.
Let's rock. What up, though, KG?
I have Pistons 112, Knicks 104. And I think it's going to be a lot of what you said. The 3 balls coming back tonight for the Pistons. Malik Beasley is on 3-ball watch tonight.
Yeah,
I think he's going off. Yeah, you at home, the crowd behind you. He know he's been slumping. He's been pressing a little bit. I think he has a big night tonight, and Spinney has been predicting that as well. Shout out to Spinney. But, yeah, I think your defense is going to, once again, take effect in this game. They're going to go out there. They're going to try to foul bait, especially off of these press conferences in which they are asking for foul calls. So watch the referees tonight, because either they are going to give them calls or it's going to be really bad the other way around. And I just feel like the Pistons defensively, they've kind of figured out how to guard Karl Anthony Towns at this point. And you want Jalen Brunson to go out there and try and play hero ball. So I got the Pistons winning somewhat comfortably at, like you said, 112-104. Let's go.
Hey, let's go. We got to get Cavassier Chase on this as well. Everybody give their predictions of how this game is going. But if you're ready now, we'll definitely. Cavassier, what you feeling, man, for this game tonight? Pistons versus Knicks.
We definitely got the Pistons. Score prediction, I'll say 112-106. I think the Pistons like a 6-point win. I want to say we keep them under 100, but I think both teams get over 100 tonight, and I think maybe Game 4 we have a better chance of keeping them under 100 again. So
yeah. I feel like that. All of our scores are similar. That the defense is going to flex.
Mm-hmm.
They're going to have a chance to keep them under 100, but they might free throws, game slowing down at the end of the game.
Sure.
I could definitely see that, man. Hey, JB Smooth, what up, though, brother?
Man, I'm not gonna sit up here and disrespect the Knicks, even though I really want to. I really want to. After that shit that came out about Homegirl talking about, oh, what is that, Little Caesars Arena? Oh, that's so cute.
We're not worried about CBS Sports fake Malika Andrews. We're not worried about her, bro.
You know what? But I'll put some respect on the Knicks. Pistons get this win, 110-101. This is just an improvement off of Game 2. Cade, continue on your offensive dominance performance that you've had. Defense, those defensive rebounds, you have to get those. Stop these second chance opportunities that you're giving the Knicks once again, and just disrupt the Knicks game plan from the start of the game. Get Cat Brunson off their game tonight, and I'm really interested to see on how the officiating will go tonight. Will Cade have to bleed to get calls, and will you stop giving Brunson all these flop fouls just every single time that he gets possession?
It ain't been going their way like that.
I'll say Cade got his calls in Game 2.
I want him to get his calls, but can you imagine if Cade has one of those 35-point, 11 assists, 6 rebound master classes with no rebounds
or no free throws,
and they win? Because he's done that.
No way.
He's one of those players that when they start talking about the players who've scored 30 plus with no free throws, he's one of those guys that pops up in some of these things. If he has that, dog,
that would be just epic. Cade game,
especially with everyone talking about
all
free
time.
Throws. We know
he
can do this without it.
If they won but were minus 10 in free throws or something like that, what can Tibbs say after that? Win the game, and trust me, Cade, continue to get aggressive. Hope that you get your calls. But if something like that happens, 35 points, 11 assists, no free throws, I would lay the pipe, obviously. That's what I do. on my wife. But that'd be just one of those things.
And we gotta get Chopped Cheese, Mr. Chopped Cheese himself on this.
The
man.
IQA.
I was like, yo, what's gonna be the nickname? Mr. Chopped Cheese himself. We got Willie B. Hey, Pistons versus Knicks. What's the takeaways? What's that final score? How's it going down? Give me the passion too. You don't gotta be respectful to the Knicks.
Okay, cool. They fucking chopped cheese. I'll tell you that, man.
Is the microphone on?
I think it is.
I hear him.
Okay, cool. I'm just making
Yeah,
sure.
they fucking chopped cheese. Let's be straight up, man. You know, I got the Pistons 120 to the Knicks 105.
Oh.
I can see respectfully, a 20 dub blowout win for the Pistons, especially in the Little Caesars Arena, especially with the chicken tenders is being fried up and smelling good after the fan base. So that case, man, I want to see K with a triple double, Jalen Duren with 20 rebounds, 10 points respectfully. We would get in. And I want the rest of the bench do what they do. Malik Beasley will get a 30-point win. So in that case, it's going to be a barn burner. I tell you that in Little Caesars Arena, man. Chop fucking cheese.
Hey,
let's go.
My man Willie B. Man, I'm so pumped up right now. I feel like